Hi, and welcome back to Get Fit Guy. This is your host, Kevin. And this week I just thought I would reintroduce what my ideas are about fitness and this show. Now, I understand that in popular vernacular, there are many words that have lost their meanings or taken on new meanings. One of those words is fitness. The oldest record I can find for this word is from the year 1570, and it means the state of being suitable. And that might tie in with one way to use this word, which is fit for task or suitable for a task. And fitness in biological terms is the ability of a species to survive long enough to be able to pass on genetic material to continue that species. Most people have heard the expression survival of the fittest. This means the species in an ecosystem that survives is the one best suited to staying alive within that environment to ensure the species continues. So what does that mean for fitness in humans? I'd wager that most people are listening to this while driving their cars, walking on treadmills, or cleaning their houses. They aren't doing so trying to survive out hunting, gathering, and avoiding being hunted by lions. But this doesn't mean that we can't strive to be fit for a purpose of our own modern lives. As I've mentioned on this podcast before, this is a very general podcast because it goes out to all listeners and it's therefore not specific by nature. So I can't do an episode on how to be fit for task for being a firefighter because that's a special kind of fit for purpose. So it's not useful for a general podcast. So I have to kind of spread the information out in the widest possible way. This means I need to give the advice that will be the most impactful and implemented easiest. This means that whilst there are influencers out there advising that for health you drink your own pee or sun your butt, then because these things are really neither impactful nor an efficient use of your time, I feel like it's also fair that I dispel some myths about fitness. This is why you'll find episodes in here about why not to do certain new fitness trends and fads and why other things might work better. If you want a podcast about, how to get shredded in 6 weeks before your annual trip to the Jersey Shore, then this won't be it. Because a crash diet to lose weight in time for summer is not healthy. Therefore, it doesn't make you fit for purpose. So what you'll find here is information about how to get stronger, more aerobically fit, how to improve your mobility, how to improve health markers like blood pressure, visceral fat levels, hormonal profiles, bone density. You'll also find episodes about critical thinking and how to choose information, which will help you to avoid these fads. And I'll also address things that don't move you towards any of those goals. The goal here with fitness, as far as I'm concerned as Get Fit, is to move the needle from sickness to wellness. Having large biceps and a butt like J-Lo won't help anyone with their health. So it's unlikely I'll cover those as topics. If you're a regular listener, apologies for the fact that you'll have heard all this before. But for those of you listening for the first time or that missed it the first time around, then basically what I'm going to be addressing is just things that impact everyone and not special populations. And the biggest thing that impacts all of us without exception is aging. Since the start of this episode till now, probably about 4 minutes, we've all aged by 4 minutes. So therefore, since it's inescapable for all of us, I'll be spending a lot of my time on this podcast referring to protocols that help those of the aging phenotype, i.e. all of us. The impacts on our body of aging are, and I hate to do this because I know a lot of listeners don't like Latin, Greek, or any other words, but hey, words are what they are. First is sarcopenia, which is a loss of muscle mass. The second is osteopenia, a loss of bone mineral density. The next is shortening of your telomeres. Telomeres are areas in your DNA at the end of chromosomes that shorten as we age, and these affect many cellular processes, which I'll cover on its own in another episode. Ditto for oxidative stress. Oxidants stress and damage your DNA, proteins, and lipids. Now, our main concern will be covering ways to resist these hallmarks of aging, and as I said, debunking new fads that claim to help these but don't. And the reason being, I would like everyone to be more healthy and avoid wasting their time and money. So, to briefly cover the first two of the aforementioned, sarcopenia and osteopenia, what are the protocols? Well, the body's an adaptational system. It adapts to stresses applied over time. For example, if you go out in the sun for a few minutes every day, your body adapts by secreting melanin and darkening your skin to offer protection from burning. If you do bicep curls across 6 weeks and continually increase the load, then your biceps increase in size to meet the new demands. But adaptation works both ways. If the stress that you're placing yourself under goes away, so does the adaptation. And athletes that stop training lose their abilities to perform athletic tasks that were not based upon nature. And a few weeks after your summer vacation, for example, your tan fades. This is a difference between an adaptation and an evolution. An evolution being permanent and undoable, really. If we want to have an adaptation to the fact that as we age, we're losing muscle mass, then we need to create some stress on those muscles. We need to do so with appropriate exercise selection. So, for example, it's more common than not that we find elderly people falling, tripping up, and so on. A loss of muscle mass in the glutes and hips and the legs make it harder for us to balance as we're walking, and it makes it harder for us to recover the situation if we begin to stumble and trip. So in that population there, if we were to avoid any and all leg and glute training, then we won't fix the problem. So in these aging populations, we should be doing full body strength work. This will ensure a full body adaptation. This is because of the SAID principle, SAID, which stands for Specific Adaptation to Imposed Demand. So it's equally the case that if we went and only trained our legs, sure, we'd be better at avoiding a fall, but we won't gain the ability to lift a box from the top shelf of the cupboard. So in this case, we definitely need a full body regimen, and it should be strength-based. Why? Well, because we're a system of levers and pulleys, which is bones and muscles. It's how we get around. And when we move external loads, we use aspects of tension and aspects of compression. And this is really important. Tension is where your muscles are being pulled longer by a load. Think about when you're carrying a suitcase or a grocery bag. Your arm, your shoulder, and your upper back are all being pulled downwards towards the ground by the load. And to resist this, you shorten your muscles. You tense your arm, you tense your shoulders and your upper back and pull against the load. That's tension. And tension resists you being pulled apart, and the muscles, tendons, and ligaments, or your soft tissues, are what provide the resistance. Compression is the opposite of being pulled long. It's where we're being squashed or crushed down. It's usually a result of being loaded top down. If you think about when you carry a rucksack on your back, your whole lower body and potentially your torso is being compressed by that load, and then you'll respond to that by resisting. Think about, like, there's a size difference between the legs of an elephant and the legs of a gazelle. An elephant's legs are really big, and it's because they are supporting a large, heavy torso on top of them. You don't get animals that have a small body weight relative to their size that have large legs. Compression is resisted not by the soft tissues, it's resisted by hard tissue, which is your bones. And once your bones are exposed to loads compressing them, they remodel and become more dense. This happens in all situations. It's called Wolff's Law. And since moving loads involves these two aspects, compression and tension, then moving loads become an ideal way to improve both. The adaptation comes in because external loading can be progressed over time. Now, you can't increase the load of a walk. The only way you can increase the load of a walk is to add load. Walking with a rucksack or a weighted vest or carrying an object. The barbell is a really great way to get stronger purely because it's trackable and repeatable. You can add 5 pounds a week to your squat, but it's really hard to add 5 pounds a week across months to a backpack when you go out for a walk. So I hope this has answered any questions about why it is I talk about why you should avoid things like drinking pee, why I might talk about things that might be outside of your understanding of fitness, and why I harp on about strength training so much. As usual, please feel free to send me an email if you have any questions. The email address is getfitguy@quickanddirtytips.com. Get Fit Guy is a Quick and Dirty Tips podcast. Thanks to the team at Quick and Dirty Tips, Morgan Christensen, Holly Hutchins, Brandon Getchis, the director of podcasts, and Davina Tomlin. If you have any questions for me, you can also leave me a voicemail at 510-353-3104. For more information about the show, you can visit quickanddirtytips.com or check out the show notes in your podcast app. Thank you.